the best of the universities which we have had, we encourage Mumbai University, Pune University, Calcutta University. So ranking and the grading and the quality is going to come. I'm sure that with the technology tools which are going to come up by our own people are going to lay a great foundation, and I'm sure and optimistic that India will be ranked as the best among the best in the world, and technology is going to support that. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajkumar.
Thank you, Mr. Raina. I'm grateful to you for the time. Can I now invite Mr. Giassi, the Lead Director of an IT Board, to make his presentation, followed by and then have a group discussion.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I noted down some points. I don't think I have so much time to speak on all these points. In any society, education is a driving force for economic and social development of the country. So is the case with our country also. As director of an engineering institution, I am feeling the importance of technology in important education. In that, first and foremost, that comes to my mind is ICT. ICT is basically a tool for us in the process of education. It can be used as informative tool, situating tool, in the sense it can, with the help of that, it can create situations which the student experiences in real life. It can be communicative tool, in the sense it can be used to remove communication barriers, such as that of language, demography, and time. This can be used to build the skills. You can have virtual classrooms without spending much money. You can impart education the way you want, to have online laboratories. You can have technology. You can have ICT as a technology demonstrator. This actually, all these uses definitely democratize the education. Despite all said and done, knowingly or unknowingly, our government still perpetuates so-called, we have, our society is full of caste system. Same caste system is being perpetuated even in education also. Even before the institution is born, somebody is called institution of national importance. Somebody is called innovative university. I really don't understand how even before it is born, somebody is called innovative university, somebody is called national important institution. You have to observe that institution, provide facilities, then only it can become nationally important institution. So this way, by birth, some are made high, some are made low. So of course, of late it seems the government has realized that trying to bridge the gap between the various institutions, already time has run out. And to bridge the gap between such institutions, I think ICT can play a major role. It will play a major role. While emphasizing on this, I don't say that ICT can replace the teacher in the classroom. It can only supplement. It cannot be replaced because eye contact, human touch, person-to-person touch, teacher's presence in the classroom will be essential. That way, ICT can be used by the driver, that is teacher in the classroom. It cannot be replaced by the ICT or any technology. It is few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. have, I suppose we have at least three broad issues, and maybe we'll use the time. So let me just identify the three issues. One is that the trends in technologies, which is more about various ways by which technologies can enhance the entire quality of governance of institutions, administration, of course, teaching, assessment, all of that. Second is what are the specific opportunities and challenges that the use of technology can actually ensure quality. And the third is how technology can help in achieving the dual goals of quality and accessibility. And that's the issue which is the larger issue relating to inclusion. So let me just start with the first issue. So if you have any comments to make on the first question of the trends in technology in the field of education, I would request you to intervene right now.
Yeah, I would like to make one point, and Umesh Sharma from Malaysia to actually, most of the time when we are talking of technology, we are talking of the technology which is coming from the West, the objective technology. We are not talking of the subjective technology evolving the self of the individual, because that is also a great science and technology, the Vedic technology, in which we evolve the consciousness of the individual. We are trying to speak more and more to the students, but we are not really broadening the consciousness of the students. We are talking of interdisciplinary studies, but how he will manage all those things together so that he is able to, we are talking of management. We say that you have to manage different things at a time. But if you don't have that broadened consciousness, then you cannot do it. So there are technologies. Most of the time, I have spoken to many vice chancellors conference that there is a technology. We talk of yoga. Previously, people were thinking that yogasana is a yoga, but yoga is actually evolving the consciousness. And if we are competing with Western countries with their technologies, we may not get that success. But if we use these very technologies, which are more good for life, they are not like partial technology. On one side, this we can say technology is doing good to the society, but on the other side, it is causing many harmful effects as well. So now the time has come to use the Vedic technology. We have a great potential. So I can talk about it more because it is really great science.
Please.
So I'm not going to share any philosophical thoughts. I want to put on the table a solution.
Yes, that's what.
I want to put on the table a solution.
Yes. And we are talking about solution. It has been scientifically proved.
Can we have a seat, please? Thank you.
I'm going to put on
Switch off the mic. Switch off the mic.
I'm going to put on the table a solution that Hitzpilani has experimented. It's a slightly expensive solution that we put in place. First of all, Hitzpilani is a multi-campus university, right? And the solution that we have put in place works well for multiple campuses that are part of the same university. It perhaps has lesser importance when the university is a single campus university. But it also has relevance when multiple universities want to come together and share resources. The specific solution that I want to put on the table is what is known as telepresence-based interactivity or telepresence-based video conferencing facility. It's not the usual video conferencing facility. It is a facility which provides exceptionally good quality video and good quality audio. Unless you have exceptionally good quality audio and video conferencing doesn't work. So what we have, please don't take this in the advertisement of this plan, right? I'm putting forward this so that some of us can actually use it. Because we have used it very, very effectively to the point that the multi-million dollars that we put into it, we get every dollar that we put in back with the university. So it's a telepresence network that we put. We have 3 conference rooms across the 3 campuses, and we have 3 200-seated classrooms across the 3 campuses in India. And what are we using it for? The first use that we put it to is that for postgraduate programs that we offer across the 3 campuses, a faculty member teaches the same course across the 3 campuses. As a result, given the fact that only 40-45 hours in a week, I'm able to have 14 faculty members teach 14 courses in each of the 3 campuses, which is to say that I save on 28 faculty members time. This is not to suggest that I'm going to not hire 28 faculty members. It only means that these 28 faculty members will have more time to do research. Right? Now, what else do we use it for? I get to talk with all heads of department across the 3 campuses at the same time. Instead of me having to travel to different campuses and meet various heads of department, I do this across from our conference rooms. Each conference room is an 18-seater conference room. And the quality is absolutely fantastic, out of this world. Those of you who have seen telepresence systems in place will notice it. And I think it's important that we realize what else do you put into use?
Can I request?
Faculty recruitment. It happens across the 3 campuses simultaneously. Selection committee members are across the 3 campuses simultaneously. Potential faculty members don't have to travel to the same campus all the time. Pilani is not, they can travel to Goa, Hyderabad, or Pilani, wherever they like. Similarly, external experts who join us on the selection committee will go to either of the 3 campuses. Which is to say that this is a facility that allows the 3 campuses to be integrated fully. We also use it for PhD thesis defense. Right? Student is on one campus, the supervisor on a different campus, the external examiner is elsewhere. And students and faculty from across the 3 campuses in the same discipline can actually attend PhD thesis evaluation. I don't want to go on and on with the various examples that we have now discovered for this technology. But this is absolutely fantastic. It's a little expensive, but I think once you put in the money, you start experiencing it, you're going to be very, very happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think one of the issues that has come up in this intervention is that all the students who are physically present in a classroom, are they being treated equally and fairly as opposed to those who are using it in the context of an online presence? I hope somebody can reflect on that. Can I invite you to reflect?
My point is related to one of the issues raised by one of the predecessors. The issue is about disintegration of the university. I think if we take a parallel from the print media publications, I am from the University of Media and Communication and Computers. There is a huge impact of new technology on the media, print media particularly, and we have seen that the newspapers and journals have stopped printing, but they are still published. So we have e-versions of these newspapers. So with regard to universities, we can say that universities are going to stay there, but the campuses may become, they will not disintegrate there, but they may shrink. The campus, the physical campus may shrink. And that is what is going to happen. And the point that everyone would agree is that the new technology is going to be a great equalizer. The marginally placed people are going to be involved in the entire process of higher education. So disintegration of the university is not the issue, but the issue is to make it the higher education for all, inclusive education.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. I think you already can you please.
I am also Raj Kumar. I would like to talk briefly about the case of RGUKT, Rajiv Gandhi University of Knowledge Technologies, where the technology is used for meeting the scale and quality. Certainly, yes, telepresence and virtual reality certainly is a solution. But when it comes to a high scale, meeting a high scale, you need also even in telepresence more for a faculty member in large number, because you need to deal with so many subjects and replicate teaching at many places at different times. At the RGUKT, we have 24,000 students, and we have up to 500 semi-E classrooms, and the students are placed in the classes. Today, the biggest problem we have is about quality of faculty. Therefore, what we used at RGUKT is to use the best of faculty available and have video lectures given. Video lectures are just a one-way traffic kind of material. So but then the advantage is that you can have the one-way traffic lectures from the best of faculty in the country. At least the faculty members know the subject in this particular case. We play a video lecture in a classroom, and there is a teacher who runs the interactive part of it. And in the process, one of our conventional class size or class duration is mapped onto a 2-hour class module, and a lot of interactive session goes on after the video lecture. And this has been put into practice for the last 5 years, and the results are found to be extremely good. Well, maybe after another 6 months or so, I'll be able to share some quantitative results when our first batch of students go to take some benchmark tests like GATE, IES, CAT, and other examinations. Given an opportunity, I can speak more about it. But I think for now, this is a case where for teaching, learning, I think one of the points where the technology was talked about, a case where we are the first institution in the whole country to put the NPTEL to its fullest extent. We generate our own content. We also use NPTEL content profusely and offer multiple courses, and at times, like database management systems, we have 3 kinds of video lectures offered to the students. A student can pick up and choose a particular lecture and go through. And that kind of collection is also provided in this lecture. Just one point about, yes, with the technology, certainly for the technology also to work, conscience is important. And to make conscious individuals, we also need to use the human technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Professor Singh.
I'd just like to make a quick point of something that has not been said by other speakers. We are emphasizing active learning and experiential learning. And a lot of times it's very difficult to fit in an internship in the curriculum of a student who's actually taking classes on a regular basis. So sometimes students go away for internship, they have a need to take a prerequisite class or a standard class. If they can do it on a distance basis, just a few classes, they can proceed on to their internship, stay there for a whole semester, and do both, and not miss out on the opportunity and not fall back on their academics.
Thank you very much.
If you can keep your mobile phones far away from the
Mike, that will be very helpful. Can I have here, please?
Hello, my name is Rich Rice. I'm at Texas Tech University. I have a little different perspective on a couple of things. Just 2 quick points. One is telepresence is amazing. It really is, but it's a high-end solution. It is very costly. Instead, think about a range of solutions. There are appropriate cases to use telepresence, but every person in the university needs access. Every single one, every student, they need access. We have a terrible saying at Texas Tech, from here it's possible. I hate the motto. From anywhere it should be possible. Okay, so I would encourage you to think about ways to provide ubiquitous internet access to every student, every teacher, whenever they are communicating. This may mean wireless infrastructure. It may mean even purchasing Akash tablets or whatever tool that's low cost for students. But number one priority, I think, should be maximizing everybody's access. And it could be a range of solutions. Number 2, think about what's called an electronic performance portfolio system, EPSS. And what it is just simply a system where everybody feeds all of their information into it. I think every university should have its own content management system. There are a number of tools that are used that all of us are using. Every course should use it. Every outcome should be put into it. And students can see it as a sort of portfolio of their ideas and work from which to draw. In terms of accreditation and assessment, it's very nice to have all of that data stored in one place. So think about EPSS systems as well.
Thank you very much. Can I ask Dr. Kamlesh Mishra?
Kamlesh Mishra from
think the starting point should be that we systematize our systems and processes that run the universities. I'm really scared of moving into the other area of when we're talking about teaching or learning processes, because as Fitz has done, it's a great thing. In the US, it was done in 1987. I used to lecture at it was being in 17 campuses. But I think one of the problems that we may encounter is that we will lose the human touch that is so very much required when you have face-to-face interactions. Now, these technologies, we may be wanting to use it because we have shortage of good teachers, or there may be certain reasons why these are being, why we're trying to use these technologies. So my issue is only that we need to see what technology and how and where it should be introduced into the process. I'm very scared to lose that human touch between the teacher and the student.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. We have around 3 to 4 minutes. Can I invite somebody from there?
I'm Sriram Devnathan from Amrita University. Actually, I think a large number of members of this audience may be familiar with the government initiative where they had the Knowledge Commission as part of that NME-ICT, National Mission on Education, through ICT-enabled technologies. So as part of this, MHRD has funded several projects in this regard. One of those happens to be from Amrita. And the product is called EDU, and it's only based on providing an immersive experience. And so a lot of the issues that have been raised by the members of this group are being addressed through that. In fact, the whole idea is to not have any disadvantages of actually using the ICT approach. So in other words, it should be non-intrusive. So there should be no feeling on the part of the teacher that there is something different. There should be no feeling on the part of the students that there is something different wherever they are. And so all the regular tools and instruments that are being used by a classroom, by a teacher in a direct classroom mode are being provided in this, whether it's the blackboard or the whiteboard, or raising a hand to ask a question, or to be able to have some two-way chats with the teacher, or to actually have the PowerPoint being projected, or it even has the provision for facial recognition. So the teacher is able to actually view the students' faces and see if somebody is falling asleep, for example. It can be a trigger for them to know that they have to do the delivery in a slightly different mode. And so a lot of this has been actually executed. And it has been very successful. In fact, Dr. Pathak from IIT Bombay has used this product to train 10,000 teachers all over India in one stroke over a period of 1 week. They had a week-long workshop, computer science based. So it was train the trainers. And so this has been proved very successful. It is being used by the CBSE for school teachers as well. But this can be an excellent model for the universities to adopt for providing greater quality of teaching to their affiliated colleges as well, which was a big issue raised in the morning.
Thank you very much. Can I invite?
I'm Francis Peter from Dr. Kayanpur University, Rajasthan. I believe one of the things Professor Vijay and Sriram Devnathan have pointed out is very relevant, and we also have experimented the teleconference and telepresence, and it has been found very successful. Particularly when we are facing the problem of acute faculty shortage. I think this will be the most idealistic opportunity which we can avail.
Thank you.
I am Dr. Ventura Swami from University. It's a question. Thank you, Professor Rajkumar. It's a question from another Professor Rajkumar. We do educate this technology or video conferencing or virtual classrooms. My attention is on roughly we are producing almost 10 million engineering graduates every year. And the employability of graduates is hardly 10% to 5%. By these virtual classrooms, I am afraid, I being myself IIT and having that program, I could not find how to change mechanical engineering or the electrical engineering to virtual classrooms. I was at the Euro conference in the just 3 months before, You are teaching the skill workers producing by video and virtual classrooms. Until unless one works on the rate machine and goes under automobile, how does he learn this? So this is a very important thing. What Professor Jan mentioned, it's a nice thing. They have created partially two-way traffic by this teleconferencing. While the virtual class is only one-way traffic. So my dear friends, we have to find out the solution. It's a very good thing. We must have this technology, but we must see that we produce the practical hands, the practical knowledge, not just theoretical knowledge, and they become tomorrow matrix for this country.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think in India, whenever we discuss technology, it almost always boils down to how you can somehow manage without teachers. Now that's a problem which we have to deal with, but there's also the other end of it, when single campus institutions, they have to deal with student engagement issues, where the students are learning well issues, and the fact that many of us at core courses would have large classes, and there is a host of technologies there to help actually as well. We don't seem to sort of do that, but whether it is a LMS system or a piazza to encourage discussions, etc., which is of a contemporary nature in the traditional setting of the professor doing lectures in the classroom, but augmenting it through ways to better learning happens. I'm just pointing out there is one other dimension.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I won't be able to do that, but I'm going to give the last word to the planning commission because we can't say no to the planning commission.
I don't have a question. I don't have any inputs, but I just want to share a concern that there's a lot of excitement around technology in the government service, but a real assessment of what is really happening is that I would, on a scale of 0 to 10, give that we are somewhere around 3, on teaching, learning maybe 2, on governance, management 2, on research and collaboration maybe 5. And we really don't have a very good sense. Even in the 12th plan, we've written something, we've apportioned some money, we've set up committees with very thoughtful people. But I'm sure that wisdom of crowd is always important. And in this group, what are 3 things that are required to be done to make it work? Why it's not working? Why, there is a gap between the potential and what is really happening in India as far as use of technology in higher education is concerned. So maybe I think Smita has put together that very interesting feedback mechanism. You can send your mails with these first 3 things, which strive to do, and we'll use it for a policy conference on use of technology in higher education.
Thank you very much. Apologies to all those who wanted to speak and I couldn't give an opportunity. Thank you to organizers, EDU as well as Pranat Sinha and others. This panel is ending. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you for conducting a model session for us, getting lots of people to contribute. We now move into our next partner session. So, may I invite Guru? There you go. Guru Prasad Deshpande. Guru is also a veteran of our BC retreats and has been to these before. Guru is also an MBA by profession. Please come on. And he works for Campus Management Corporation as a Director of Higher Education. They have some interesting solutions as well, and so I'll ask Guru to take us through some of his insights on implementing some of their solutions in India, as well as some insights that he has to share with us.
Thanks a lot, Pramod. Very happy afternoon, gentlemen. Just want to share my observations about technology, some of my experiences in the higher education. So, being day in and day out, meeting some of you will be. So my take is basically for success of any university or any institute, technology is something that's unavoidable, and that's something that we have to embrace it with grace. Some of the observations that I have is a slide over here, which talks about the current levels of ICT adoption in the higher education. And if you look at the slides, you can see for yourself that we are extremely good when it comes to an email management system or a Word or a Microsoft or a spreadsheet, etc. But where the analysis says is in terms of our business applications, be a customer relationship management or an ERP system, the adaptability is pretty less. And this has been a good analysis done by the Zinov group. Moving on, I think some of the factors, which are extremely important that we need to understand is the factors that influence the prestige of any organization today is basically these. It could be something like a student record management, having a proper website in place, having CRM systems in place, an institutional ERP in place, an online student evaluation, interactive whiteboards. So we are speaking, this is nothing Greek and Latin, and this is something which is imperative for any institution to be successful. Moving on, I think what happens is when you have such kind of systems in place, there's a lot of advantages. It only increases your productivity, it increases your efficiency, it improves upon creating a kind of an experience across the campuses if you are a multi-campus deployment, and it also optimizes the resources as well. So these are some of the benefits that can be derived out of an ICT implementation. Today what's happening is many of our systems, many of our institutes and universities operate in silos. Especially when you have within the institutes, you take different functions. It could be an admission, it could be an alumni, it could be a placement. We see, if we have to derive a common report, we see people running from pillar to post to kind of get a complete holistic report about any function. So at the end of it, time is the essence of every transaction that we make. And if we do not have a proper system, a holistic system, an integrated system in place, it's only going to consume a lot of time, energy of every one of us. That's the effect of having a silo system. So the solution to this is basically to connect all the silos and weave all the threads together across all the functions within a university or an institute. It could be right from prospecting, marketing, it could be the admissions department, moving on to the enrollments, the registrations, right, and up to the placements and alumni. So it's very, very important for us to have all the systems integrated to ensure that we connect the silos. Not only the departments, the internal functional departments, but also it's very, very imperative to have all the campuses as well connected. So in some of the universities that I have personally visited, some campus raises a purchase order, for example, and the head office doesn't know whether the order has gone or not. So unless and until there's a weekly reconciliation that happens, and then if someone misses updating the records in the head office headquarters, then that's going to have a big issue. So it's always imperative that we connect the campuses as well together. And for this, we need to have the campus on a very, very agile platform. All we need to do is basically, there are a lot of functional departments within that I said, right from your admissions to the alumni, the placements, and on the other hand, you have all the back-end departments such as HR, finance, payroll, procurement. And the best thing to do is to make your IT, make it more customer, make it more, have an IT into the central hub and use the services to kind of connect all these systems that are in silos. So then what happens is basically this it could give a complete integrated platform across various departments and functions, cross-function areas. So what we do as part of the Agile campus, basically, it's very easy for me to say, okay, fine, we are going to come over, put up a CD for you, ensure that this is implemented, now this module is going to start using the system. So that's not what we do. We follow a 5-step to having an Agile campus, so very, very basic steps. So basically, we engage with a functional consultant who has got domain knowledge on the higher education. Then we sit with you folks, analyze the requirements, your IT requirements, your business requirements, and derive a roadmap for that. So that's very, very important and crucial, because unless and until the fundamentals are not clear, any implementation is going to fail. Number 3, we also have to identify, we form a team internally to identify the consolidation part of it. We have to have capability internally to kind of demonstrate the solution, identify the solutions that you guys need. Then finally, comes the selection of the solution, implementation, deployment in terms of different phases, necessary paperwork that we do, and as part of the final approach, we have the implementation in terms of the normal SDLC follows in terms of the requirement gathering and design, user acceptance tests, and so on and so forth. So it's very important to have these 5 steps very, very clearly identified in order to make an agile campus. So having said that, I mean, we, campus management, we are in this market for about 25 years, 2,000 plus campuses to our credit. We have been in this business for about, in 26 countries and 6 continents. Our Asia Pacific headquarters is based out of Bangalore. And the most important thing here is whatever revenues that we make, 25% of our revenues gets flowed back into research and development and evolution of the new product. So every year we have a new release, and at the end of the day, I mean, we have to give you the best. So that's the kind of quality investments that we make for our company. And very quickly, this is a global footprint. And as I said, our global headquarters is based out of the US in Florida and Boca Raton, and the Asia Pacific headquarters is of Bangalore. And wherever you see those red dots are our direct presence, and wherever you see the blue dots are basically we operate out of partners, basically the referral partners. A very, very quick snapshot on the ecosystem of products, right from, I would say, solutions basically, right from prospecting of the students, getting them into the ecosystem of the university, getting them through the entire enrollment registration process up to the placements. Everything is being offered by campus management. Flexible options of implementation. You want an on-premise, you want a hosted, you want a SaaS, we are there. So some of the modules, I mean, I want to skip some of them. I mean, basically these are some of the modules that are self-explanatory, and which basically we have a complete CRM module, SIS module, examination module, library management, so on and so forth. This is primarily from an academic track. And if you see the non-academic track, we come up with a complete HR, finance, payroll, procurement, fixed assets, so on and so forth. So some of the implementations that we have done globally are some of the notable names that you can see on the logos, which are self-explanatory. And in the Asia Pacific, in India, if you look at, we have acquired close to about 40 customers in the last 3 years. So that's been our acquisition rate, and we've moved pretty fast on this. And if you look at some multi-campus deployments here, we are talking about Kenyatta University here. If you see the logo over there, that was one of the rapid implementations that we had done with about 70,000 students, 164 campuses, and 165 programs. And we have completed the implementation in just 6 months time frame. So, not to talk more about this, but what I'm saying is basically if you recall the agile approach, so this is what we have done. So if we get our fundamentals clear, it becomes all the more easier for us to move forward. So these are some of the not-for-profit institutions in the West, the Colorado State University, the University of Alabama, Defense Acquisition University. So these are some of the names that we talk about for the not-for-profit institutions. Very, very quickly, I want to touch upon one of the premier business schools here, IIM, who have selected campus management as their sole preferred vendor. So this is basically, there was a very, very transparent evaluation process, as you all know, and this being a government institute. I mean, we were measured on many parameters, and one of the key criteria for selection has been the functionality of the application, the configurability, and the scalability of the application. So this is something which was pretty much acknowledged by none other than the director himself, as you see. And moving forward, I just wanted to also touch upon one case study, which is Raffles, which is a $1,000 million university based in Singapore with about 45,000 students and 120 campuses again. I mean, they had nothing but spreadsheets to manage. And what they bought from us, or what we solutioned for them, was basically a complete student information systems module, right from enrollment to the placements. So having said that, I mean, this is one of the most complex implementations that we have done, and it's successful, and it's already gone live. Just wanted to emphasize before I wrap up, we are a company, we are a single window company. When I mean single window company, this means that right from our pre-sales opportunities till the closure of the sale, the entire implementation, customer support, integration services, engineering team, everything is done by campus management. So we do not have a partner implementation strategy because we believe that we have to be the one face for our customers, and hence we are a single window company. Going forward, I mean, it's very important that we understand this part of the vision that we create for the universities. Today, if you look at the entire pyramid of the universities, everyone here, I mean, people like us, we provide, we always try to provide an enterprise class solution for all the universities and the institutes. And thereby, moving up the value chain here, we try to create an experience, and that's where the human touch comes. If you really have a technology, it's not a technology, eats away the human touch. I mean, that's where we create the kind of an experience for the students, for the faculty, thereby leveraging the technology and its strengths. So while many of us, I mean, today, many of the implementations fail because what happens is we just are focused towards only providing a solution and creating an experience. But we at campus management ensure that we go those 4 steps extra or 4 miles extra in terms of participating in your technological endeavor, making sure that we be a part of your vision and mission, right? So that's, and secondly, the success criteria for campus management here is we involve each and every customer on board of our product advisory board so that you can drive our product roadmap. Because ultimately we are a service provider, so we may not understand most of the nuances of the higher education industry today in terms of the governance and the policies, etc. So once we onboard you as a customer, so we take you as the advisors for our product, and then penultimately we will have to collaborate. What we do is we collaborate to create a mutual partnership, because ultimately what happens is it can't be a vendor supplier kind of an approach. It has to be a partnership. It has to be a collaborative approach at the end of the day. So we emphasize on that. And finally, and last but not the least, the whole objective is to transform this into an agile campus. So when I say agile campus, it means a more lightweight campus, a quick rapid implementation campus, and a completely seamlessly integrated campus. So what happens is if I may have to translate this into a Maslow's theory, I mean, this is where we have the survival needs. Ultimately, you will have to survive, we will have to survive. These two are basically the success needs, where we will have to take you from survival to success, and here from success, we take you into the transformation stage. So that's where we have we had value proposition from campus management, and here we go. So I think that's kept up the time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? I'll be happy to take. Else, we have a stall here.
So Guru and his team are here, and please feel free to catch up with him and see during the course of the next 2 days.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you. We get to the last session of the 8K, and we try to put some of our participants in the hot seat here. So I literally asked them to join us on stage. The reason for this session was that we wanted to speak to some people who are actually owners of higher education institutions rather than just vice versa, who have actually made a foray into the private education space. And the reason for this was that we felt that we should hear from people who are actually setting up institutions and ask them what is their view of quality and how are they viewing quality as opposed to people who are running institutions. As you know, there is a lot of, I would say, malignment of private education, or as they are called, edupreneurs. And so we invited 2 edupreneurs to join us today. They are here with me today, and I've asked them to join us on stage, Mr. Prabhat Jain and Mr. Hasmukh Ram. If you can join us here, because I will put some questions to you, and I'll have the audience also ask questions. But let me quickly introduce them. Mr. Hasmukh Ram is the Chancellor and President of Oro University. He's the founder of JHM Enterprises. He obtained his MBA from Xavier University. He's the The American Hotel and Motel Association had designated Mr. Rama as a certified hotel administrator. He also has many other honors, including the Oberoi Award for Excellence and the ENY Entrepreneur of the Year Award. For those of you who are from the north of the country and near Delhi, you would have heard of Pathway Schools. Mr. Prabhat Jain is the co-founder of Sarla Holdings Private Limited, which actually runs the K-12 international schools under the name of Pathways. He started his career in a family-run stone business, which is based out of Udaipur, Rajasthan. Filtering through many different opportunities for the family business, they decided to get into the education space, and through that evolved this world-class international school model. And the first Pathways School was founded in 2003. He's now involved in setting up a university, right there in Haryana, right? Rajasthan. Yeah. So I would like to ask the two of you, when you as entrepreneurs hear all of this talk about, entrepreneurs are out to make money and they don't care about quality and so on. What is your view of this? And how true is that? How do you view your role as people who are setting up high quality institutions? So, Mr. Rama, would you like to go first, and then Mr. Kim?
I think quality is an aspiration for any organization. Quality is a moving target. Quality is progressive. Quality is defined at every step of the peak. Therefore, quality is something dynamic and adjusting itself and become relevant to the stakeholders that we serve through our organization. So in education, we start with the 4 stakeholders that we have defined in our university. One is student, second is faculty, third is parents, and fourth is industry, and we can also add community. So each stakeholder has expectation from the university as an educational institute to provide services, and that's why they come to our institutions. So each stakeholder defines what is quality and what is benchmarking for us as an institution. This is how we run our businesses. And we start with soul searching first, that where do we stand in this sector called education or even business, and we start with a vision. What is our vision as an educational institute, and what will it take to create a mission for this institute, and what are the core values through which we will conduct ourselves to manifest the vision of our university. So with all these things in place, we have to start working on execution, because vision without execution is hallucination. So being a businessman, we figure out how to create action plan and create, we call KRAs, key result areas, for each aspect of campus life, the student life, the faculty, the financial independence, and also the community and industry, what they are looking from us, from our students. So each one has expectations. So let me briefly give you some idea about how we have created. We define our vision as our university as a premier university of integral and transformational learning center for future leaders. Now each word has an action plan and a goal for the whole campus. That's faculty, students, parents, industry, and community. And then we try to develop. By the way, we are only 2 years old university. It's a privately funded. Our family has funded 100%. We are not here. I make living in America. I'm here somehow by accident into education. So that's my background. And what we have done is, we are value-based education institution. What we are trying to do is transform an individual, because we believe fundamentally that purpose of education is to help an individual to provide, to create, and have perfectibility to its utmost. Education is not to shape, cut through the assembly line and put into the society. We believe, and by the way, our university is inspiration from the teaching of CIO&Leader. So you can see that we believe in that each soul is in evolution. So our job at the university, through education, is to make him or her a conscious collaborator into that conscious evolutionary process. So first thing we do at the student level is that we would like to help him self-discover and then self-master. Because we think that student needs to be successful at any stage of his life. As a student first, then as a spouse, then as a businessman, a professional, or even parents, or a leader of his family, society, company, and also nation. So we are trying to create a leader of his own. First of all, himself needs to lead his life, make himself successful. Then go to the second stage, then how he can make successful his family, and then the nation. So every level, we are trying to help him understand that it is up to him and up to his ability that will make him successful. So we are trying to help student reach to its potential, rather than forcing them to do something they don't like to do. But we would like to help him discover himself and help him move faster, so that he will align himself with his own aspiration. Because aspiration is the most important part of our human existence. Self-discovery is very important, and our educational system has gone away from that because we are all looking for living. And I'm telling you from my own experience that while you are looking for your self-development, I'm sure that you can be successful in business and make a great leader.
Thank you. Thank you. Prabhat, would you like to comment on that?
Very quickly, first of all, good evening to all of you. And if I understand, this is the last session, so probably this is the last hurdle between the cocktails waiting for.
We do have a keynote speaker also, but yes, for the.
So, just very quickly and very briefly, not taking more time, as you spoke about quality and entrepreneurship. So, the first fundamental thing that we believe, and I don't know who was the person who coined this term entrepreneur, but whoever did that probably was a mastermind, because there's a huge difference between being an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, and that's something which we are understanding now over the last 10 or 11 years of our intelligence or involvement in education. As an entrepreneur, your prime motive is to make profit, but as an entrepreneur, that not necessarily and should not necessarily be the first motive. Your first motive should still be to build a sustainable model, but to first build quality. If it was my entrepreneurial genes and only the entrepreneurial genes, because I come from that background, over the last 11 years we have constructed something about 12 lakh square feet of, which can be turned as a premium real estate, in Gurgaon and Noida. So if it was only entrepreneurial spirit, we could have done that in a group housing scheme and made much more money. But what it needs to be an entrepreneur, if you don't want to fall into the league of the likes, which some of the earlier speakers have spoken about, that 50% of the capacity is like RD. I know they're not running students. It is only by creating an institution with a very long-term vision, which has a quality focus and embraces excellence. And how do you do that? Is it really very difficult to do? Why is it that that's not happening in India? I think there's just a few very simple things which are required on the sponsoring body or the promoters, as they are called, to make that eventually happen. And the first and foremost for that is to have a very clear objective and a very clear long-term objective and a vision. It is a very painful process when it comes to money, so you need to have a very patient capital. You just can't have returns happening in the first 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, even 7 years. What we have done in the process, what also delivers quality, and one of the very important learnings that we have had in that is putting a right person in a right place. That's what we have discovered happens very often as a mistake in education. A great teacher with a great experience, a great lecturer, professor, whatever, with a great experience, any aspiration happens, make him a HOD or make him probably a dean or make him somebody else. Whereas, with all due respect, what happens, we lose an outstanding teacher in a classroom and lecturer, and we get a hopeless administrator. So, these are two very different objectives, and which is what we need to learn. The second thing, which is very, very important, and that's what we try and do, is the ongoing professional development to ensure quality. Now, we believe that by very nature, the education institutions, whether it's school or higher education, they are prone to complacency by their very nature. So how do you find that complacency? Teaching the same topic again and again year after year is only by doing a regular professional development and increasing and upgrading our own probably qualities and everything. And the third and the final thing in quality is how do you marry the corporate practices with a very good quality education institutions. Some of the earlier speakers have spoken about funding, for example. And you've seen the American university model where the presidents of the university are not necessarily the people who are delivering education in the classroom, so probably they are deans and other people. But these are the people who are involved in fundraising or probably making collaborations, connections and everything. Now these are things which probably they have done, but some of our institutions are likely to do. And that's where this bit of corporate side probably adds value in the entire thing.
Do you have to, how important is the financial sustainability or I guess I can't say profitability because you are not supposed to be profitable, but how important is the financial sustainability in the way you view these models? Is it a function of how much money you have to invest? Are there some absolute benchmarks that you put in place to say this is how much I will put in and no more? Because that obviously impacts quality, right? There's a trade-off in how much you invest.
Absolutely. So if I talk about one experience which I had about 6 years back, or probably 7 years back, it just happened that in the same year, I visited two great institutions. One was a school which is probably a 70 or 80 years old school in Darjeeling. In Darjeeling, very famous, and I was visiting Darjeeling with a relative of mine who was alumni of that school. So just because he probably had passed about 20, 30 years back, and with great pride, he said, okay, let's go and visit my alma mater. And we went inside, and the moment we walked into the first classroom, it was a situation that both he and I we didn't know what to tell each other. The same year, I happened to visit the Leeds University in UK, and that was the 102nd year of that university, which probably was more older than this. And when I was looking around of the university, for example, their library, which probably was about 100 years old or 90 years old, had all the modern Wi-Fi systems and everything. While the architecture was still Gothic, but everything was there. So what happens? Sustainability is very important to remain current with times. And that's a pure comparison. In India, unfortunately, in our institutions, we have never had a concept of building a surplus, which is so very important for your own survival. The way the world is changing, the technology is changing, you have to keep upgrading yourself, which doesn't happen. So it's not necessarily profit, but it's creating a sustainable surplus to keep upgrading yourselves and not just depending on that.
As a private institution, we have to look. Education institutions are built for generation. They are not built for a few years. So financial viability is very, very critical for the growth of the university. Secondly is that you cannot deliver quality with no money. That's very simple rule. It's a very hypocritical view in this country that you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and yet you should do this and you should do that. There is a big diversion between what is expected to deliver and what is allowed to be done. So this is, I call hypocritical. That's why the quality of education in this country is suffering. So it is very important for people in this room to have understanding that this is not going to happen, and we should be active in the formation of policy, whether it is UGC or AICTA or whatever, at the state level, central level, that we need to have them understand. While they are looking at the vote bank and what is politically right, at the same time they are saying we should have a ranking in global arena. How are you going to do that? So you cannot provide quality unless you have resources. And I do not know any university, including in America, and I visited many universities. None of the universities is fully funded. Each one requires resources. So what that tells me is that here we are, I visited many campuses in this country, and this taxpayers' money is given to them. Therefore, they cannot charge, or they should not charge fees. The private university cannot do that. So I think it is very important that the leaders in this room should vocalize what you require in resources to run it and create a high standard of education at all levels. And that is not happening because maybe your hands are tied, maybe you're afraid to be in the front. Something is not right. So far I'm concerned. I'm a businessman. I just look at through the wall. You know, that's my opinion.
Any reactions from the leaders in the room? You are running an edupreneurs university as well.
Yes.
Can you tell that off?
I think I'm very, very intrigued by the insight that both our chancellors have provided.
I'm not a chancellor.
Okay. At least you're a promoter. And I think every promoter says some of those things. I do believe that they also mean them. The difficulty that I find here is that the private universities have been painted in a corner. And if you look at the remarks that were made by the UGC chairman this morning, I felt like he was talking through both sides of his mouth. One side, he was saying that I'm going to give you 120 crores if you become a center of excellence. On the other hand, he told me, to my question, that we don't have any money for private universities. In fact, he did say that there's money that is being wasted or not utilized. And on the other hand,
we can all borrow from Professor Mukherjee.
Right. And I don't mean it in a critical sense. But
no, sure.
In fact, what I want to say is that the private universities are too mired in worrying about competition with each other, as opposed to having some sort of a group that comes together. You know, whenever you can have two fierce competitors in an industrial arena, but at some level, both your interests are together. So we've got to find a way for these people who are competing in one arena to come together for common causes. And first of all, work hard to improve the image of the private universities. You know, most of you, I'm sure, know a lot of politicians, because otherwise you wouldn't have a university.
I agree.
So, you know, why not utilize that channel to really try to improve the image and push your agenda through? On one hand, you've done a great job, and 60% of this country's students study in private universities. They would have nowhere to go if those universities did not exist. You are educating the people that really need the education. The rest of them are focusing on 0.5% of those students that manage to get into IITs. And this country will be nowhere if we can just limit the education to those 0.5%. So I would like to say that somehow you need to figure out common causes and improve your image.
We'll come back to a response to that. Pankaj and then Professor Grawani.
So I thought a lot about this technology things. And there's one slightly diversionary thing, but I suspect See, there are two aspects of the university, education and research as well. Education, we know that can be a self-sustaining enterprise with some challenges, but can be done. It is research which makes it totally unviable. It is just totally unviable if you have to do it on your own. Unfortunately, in India, if you're a university, you must be doing, by definition of a university, you must be engaged in this thing. If you say, I'm only going to run a 4-year college, and please give me autonomy to design my courses and so on, the rules don't allow it. So what I'm submitting is, which is sort of beyond the debate you are looking at, that this, unless we clearly are able to say that there is a room for a 4-year
college
university, which will also have autonomy. Not always tied to a parent university which will control everything about what to teach and how to teach and how much to charge. We will continue having this debate. The UGC expects you have to be university of the same kind that they're funding with public money, and that's just not possible.
Professor Garewal, I'll just come to you.
I would like to seek your response to a particular observation that I have. If you see the Indian industry, most of the industrial houses are family owned, and the board of governors also have their dominations accordingly. But when it comes to the education, which is also an industry now, WTO recognizes education as an industry now. There, invariably, there is a charge thrown at the organizations, private organizations, that their board of governors are family dominated, and therefore something should be done. The regulations are being passed as to how to dilute the control of the sponsors of the university on their respective organizations. How do you handle that type of situation, and why is discrimination when it comes to education and when it comes to the industry? After anybody who has invested money would like to have control over it. Even the government has got the control over it. When it has got a public university, the secretary finance, the secretary education, the chief secretary, all are in the board of governors of those universities. But when it comes to the private universities, somehow they are Shudras and not the high-class Brahmins.
I guess this is connected to Professor Saxena's point, so please, in whichever order. You want to go first?
I would like to enlighten a little bit the audience here is the Gujarat private university have mandates. The private university have diversity members within the board of governors, and they are required by the law to have nominations outside of the promoters. So it is, frankly speaking, majority are outside of board. But in our university, we don't have 3 people from the family. That's it, and we have 13. So it is not that all depends on the promoter's vision. Are we really in education? Am I looking for input from expert to make my university a leading university, a premier university? Then I need expert advice and input from people who knows better than me. So I call myself an accidental educationalist. I don't know this. I don't know anything about education. But I only know how to promote something. That's it. So I definitely, if I want my university to be successful, I have no choice but to ask expert advice, and they need to be part of my board and management and everything related.
So 2 points. I think one was about education and research and how we fund research, because that really becomes an economic, and the second is about this. So yes, I think we're talking about a 4-year degree college model. I guess it also does exist in India, and there's at least one university that I know of in Pune which is doing that.
Are you thinking of late?
That's right.
Yeah, but they are still affiliated to market that way as a
But now that Delhi University has done something, so let's hope what happens. But for research, you're absolutely correct. That's something which can't be privately funded at all. But there again, how private universities can engage or indulge in research, and we have several examples to look around. I think again, this is something which we have to look inside. What we do, most of our higher education institutions, with due respect, when we engage with the industry, what is the objective or our request with which we engage with the industry. I think one of our, and that's what happened, that we mostly engage with the industry only for placements. Here are my graduates, place them, give them a job, because if my graduate get placed, I get more admissions and my university goes up that I get. Now that's something which also probably deters the industry, because each time, when we approach them, we approach with a single objective. Instead, if we build excellence in our own system, then we approach the industry to say, okay, but we have this university and we have a set of students under a professor. And if you have any real issue happening in your business, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's anything, why don't you give it to us? And we as a case study would like to do this, understand this, and then see if we can try and come out with a solution. And that's exactly what many of the leading universities in the world do. If that starts happening and once you create that kind of a reputation, the research grants come from the private enterprises themselves, which is happening all over the world. So probably, I think sometimes we put cart before the horse, but that's something which we'll have to see. The other thing was about the family dominance on the board of governors, whether it should happen, whether it should not happen. Again, as Mr. Rama said, that it's largely promoter driven, but what's most ideal, as we spoke about, what's most important is what's the objective of setting up an education institution? Is it being set up for educational purposes, as an entrepreneur, or is it being set up as a business venture, as an entrepreneur? If it's being set up as an entrepreneur, as a pure educational initiative, then we look all around the world. I think one of the sessions that we were all sitting on also was there, that when some of the leading universities were set up in the West also, the families who endowed and made the biggest contribution for that university were the people who were instrumental in setting up the university, setting up policies, departments and everything, and also were running them. Because they had a vision, a long-term vision, to ultimately take the state university to a university for people. So, and increasingly, progressively, I think the states are more progressive than the center in this country, as I see. Some of the state private universities acts do allow a fair leverage to the sponsoring body to set up a team of people to govern the university, nominated by the sponsoring body. Now, it really depends on the promoters that whether they want to make it a really quality board or something which is different.
I think there was a question in the back. Yes.
Actually, it's a comment on the area of private education institutions and entrepreneurs and so on. Even outside of the discussion about when we talk about private universities, there's a for-profit and non-profit. I know there are significant people within the government who are looking at how to allow for-profit. I've done enough study of the law to know there is no single act in the country today which says a private limited company cannot start an education institution. The directive principles of the Constitution, state policy, do not say that education cannot be done by a private limited company. Education is still a legal activity. It can be done under the private limited company format, which means private investment income, and it can be conducted to create what we call sustainable surplus or a profit, as we call it in the name of private limited.
Lots of people are shaking their heads, so you're going to have a long tea break, I think.
Okay, so the only thing, the word that is used in the Constitution or the directive principles of state policy on education, it says we should not have commercialization. The word commercialization is not being defined. And
it was used today also, actually.
That is right. And perhaps I should have brought it up then, when we very eloquently made the case for private involvement in higher education. You now immediately left out whether private is for profit or non-profit. Okay? So currently the word commercialization goes by the dictionary meaning, where if there is a commerce of giving money and taking a service, it's commercialization, which means all state universities today are guilty of commercialization by that definition of commercialization. So currently, in my view, it's a matter of someone taking the matter to the Supreme Court and saying, I have a constitutional right to educate, and I want to do it under the private limited company format. It will be allowed. It's like how, after so many years, the AICT has been told, hey, you cannot control any education. Right? So I think there is this body being created that you can't do for-profit education. It's not correct. It can't be done in this country.
I think we're going to close it. If you just want to make a quick one.
In EMFI case, the Honorable Supreme Court has very clearly laid down that education is no longer a charity, it is a vocation. And they have laid down that there will be no profit in it, but a reasonable amount of profit can be generated, and that also has been defined. And you can make up to 15%, as per the Supreme Court verdict, 15% of the profit can be made. It is a EMFI case judgment.
Thank you. 15% is a lot of money to be made.
Can I make last 2 points, 2 quick points?
Yeah, sure.
So, these are probably I'm just really digressing with some of the topics that we are discussing. When we were talking about our education system and the excellence and everything, just a very small reference of one of our neighboring countries called Bhutan. For several years it has been a very inward-looking country, preserving their culture and everything. And we have seen how 6 years back they studied different democracies and brought a democracy within the country. What's happening now in that country right now is that they are seriously looking at education and how they can create Bhutan as an education capital for this region. And for this, what they did over a few years, they studied different education systems, India, UK, Vietnam, several countries of what exists, and then they created a regulatory regime which is existing now, which does allow for-profit investment also to happen in education. The government is promoting an education city between the districts of Paro and Thimphu, 800-acre facility, and INFS is probably the lead developer on a global bidding process. They won that. And now in that city, they are looking at inviting or setting up world-class universities and world-class schools. Now, from Bhutan, every year 4,500 students go overseas for higher education, fully funded by the Bhutanese government. And 85% of these 4,500 students come to Indian universities. In spite of all that, in this education city what they are creating, at least in the first leg, they are not at all prepared to look at any institution in India, whether government or private, to set up a university there. So that's sort of a reputation that we are creating for ourselves, in spite of the fact that our Delhi University was running the Cherokee College in Bhutan, and they had helped them set up their own university. The only second comment, so probably we have to ask ourselves where we've gone wrong, that a country like Bhutan also will send students to us to study, are not relying on us to set up their university system, or at least in this city. And the second thing, and I would go very quickly on that, which we have been talking about since afternoon, is about recognition or benchmarking and accreditation and everything. Now, in that, I think they are all institution driven. If you talk about accreditation, benchmarking, ranking, the first and foremost thing is recognition. And we have another example here, Pramad standing here. I think the institution that we have set up is not recognized today. But it's not, it doesn't matter whether it has a ranking or not, but so recognition doesn't really matter. If you talk about rankings, well, I think in school context, 5 or 6 years back, we were ranked number 9 or 10 in India. This year, the rankings just came out, we were ranked number 2 in India. But frankly, telling you in this audience, we didn't know why we were ranked, we don't know why we are not today. So we don't know what actually these rankings normally mean, but probably for the public perception that happens. Benchmarking, I think we spoke a lot about who do we benchmark with. We had some great speeches, but what we believe is that if we were to benchmark our education institutions of today, we have to benchmark only with two things. One is we have to benchmark with the future, and second, we have to benchmark with today's generations and the future generations. And I'll just elaborate, if we American War College, I think about a decade ago, they coined a term called VUCA, V-U-C-A. They said that we're increasingly living in a VUCA world. And what VUCA stands for is, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So if that is the world that we're living in, and if the generations that we're dealing with are going to, find themselves in a world which is VUCA, and find themselves in disciplines that probably don't exist today, so how are we preparing them? So that's the benchmarking we have to do with the future, because the future is changing very rapidly than probably what it happened decades ago. And the second thing is about dealing with whom. If we are dealing with the generation of today, I don't know how many of us sitting in our room were born after the mass, internet thing came in. At least I was born before the internet was there. But if I compare myself with my own children, who are the post-internet generation, the way things make sense to them is very different than what it makes sense to us. I could have never imagined myself preparing for my physics lesson with, listening to the music, watching television on BBM, on Facebook also on, and doing everything together and still achieving good grades in physics, of the lesson that I pay tomorrow. So which means it's an adaptation process of human being also, where we are all becoming multitaskers. So in this generation, which are multitasker, which get bored very fast, how do we create an attention span of this generation in the classroom? What is the communication tool that we need to use? We spoke about technology, but we spoke about technology for creating solutions for faculty shortage now. But what about using technology in pedagogy? Which is something that the generation of today understands. So probably these are just a few
Using technology for pedagogy is exactly the topic of our keynote this evening. Unless Mr. Rama, you want to make any closing remarks, I'd like to thank both our edupreneurs for really showing us that we do have good people building institutions in this country, and all power to them. Thank you very much. We'll take a break and we'll be back here. We'll be back here in 15 minutes, and we have Rich Rice with us all the way from Texas to talk to us about how to use technology in the classroom. I just want to make a quick announcement. We had sent you an email about the unconference on Sunday. So we now have 10 sessions that all of you have proposed for the unconference. I won't go through them. There's a board outside near the Young India Film stall. So the idea is that you have to go and put your name down for 2 of those sessions that you would like to go to. Based on that, we'll decide which sessions will be offered. Okay? So just go outside by the Young India Films stall. You don't have to do it right now. We'll wait till tomorrow afternoon or so to take the votes. But these are some of the sessions that people have talked about, and the list is outside. So we'll take a break and be back in 15 minutes. Thank you.